Examples of oscillators are clocks. Your heart is an oscillator. And in Minecraft, there's many ways maybe to build oscillators, but two of the common ways are with a revolving cart or using delay elements or repeaters in a loop to create this on, off signal. Got the basic concept. So in the AND gate, all of the inputs have to be on in order for the output to be on. If you want your combination lock to read 0, 1, 0, 1, then you have to invert the switches that are 0 in order to make them on. So when all of these 4 inputs are on, then the door will open. Great. Okay. And let's say you have 4 doors and you want to play a welcoming song when any one of the doors opens. You don't want to build 4 music machines. You just want to build 1 music machine and trigger it when any door opens, right? So the way you could do that is by using an OR gate. Right? This first signal shows what happens when you just use a button. Signal goes on when you're pressing it, signal comes off when you're not pressing it. What happens if you want to press a button and keep something on? That's when you use a T flip-flop. So anytime the T flip-flop sees a pulse, it turns on. The next time it sees a pulse, it turns off. It's flip-flop. It's like you change your mind, flipping and flopping. That's exactly what an electronic circuit does. It changes its mind every time it gets a vote or a pulse. Flip-flop is like a politician. All right. Okay. All right, guys. Shall we take it from there, Thomas?
Sure. So let's start off just as a quick reminder. So you guys all remember how counters work. What we're going to work with a bit more today is, well, actually, this is a good spot to show it. Right now, the way our counter is set up is we can see on these lights what number shows up. We can count here what number is showing up. However, let's say we want to use a counter to have 16 different possibilities. How would we do that? We have only 3 lights activated. We can't just draw a redstone path from here and connect it because this light is going to be active for more than 1 number. So how does anyone know how we would
And gates and inverters.
Yeah, perfect. And gates and inverters. I did
that before. So on my island.
Yeah. So if we take a look at how it would look, we can take a look at yours after. This is and like all things, we're just connecting AND gates and OR gates to our counters, but we can start to connect different gates to it. So for this counter, we have the lights over here, and if I'm able to hit a button, we can count. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, and then we hit again, back to 0. And like I wasn't sure who said, I'm sorry, but like they said, we can use a combination of AND gates, OR gates, and inverters. When both gates are on, it's going to represent the number 3. We have an AND gate for that. When only one of them is on, when only one of these is on, this AND gate will not be powered. This is a modified AND gate, which means that the 2 pistons are going to be extended, meaning that the redstone circuit here is going to pass through. If both of these lights are on, we're going to hit it until they're both on. There we go. All of a sudden, the 2 pistons are going to retract, and the circuit here won't be able to pass through. So ensure that these two, the other 2 lights don't show up. And here we have a little bit of a shimmy around just to get it to make a little bit more sense. this path, which represents we're on the right, okay. This path, which represents 3, was just shimmied around to be on the 4. So normally this would represent just 10 or 2. We just shimmied it around using this, so it goes to make sense order-wise. And then finally, when they're both off, we can follow the path here. The redstone signal here, redstone signal here, they both go for an inverter. They both, which switches their values into an AND gate to modify the last light. So this is an example of how you would use your counters to get different value for each of your results. And of course, this is you don't have to use all 4 of these possibilities. You don't always need a value of 3. Sometimes you only need to count. Sometimes you only need a 1 and a 3, and the other 2 will be the same as either the 1 or the 3. At which point you can get rid of one of the gates. So based on what you require your counter to count, you can modify your redstone wire. But we remember to do a 0, we have an inverter followed by an AND gate. That's going to be how we link to a 0. For a 3, we have an AND gate. And for 1 and for 2, we connect it to the AND gate. If they're not both lit, you retract the piston so that this circuit doesn't work. This is because when they're both lit, this part of the redstone is also going to be activated. So if we hit it again, let's get to that value. Gonna have to modify a little bit. Let's keep going. Okay. Actually, this is perfect. All right. So when only one of them is lit, because this one isn't lit, the AND gate is not gonna function. Normally we put a redstone torch here. In my case, I chose not to put a redstone torch because we don't want to invert the signal. When this iron block gets powered, the 2 pistons are gonna push out, which means that the signal can pass through the 2 outside paths. Because this one is activated, this iron block gets powered, which powers the repeater, which tells it we should activate this light. We go up, follow the path, we get to this light. We hit it again. Now neither of them are on. They're both on, which means the AND gate does, both of these torches do get deactivated, which means this is no longer powered. The pistons are going to retract, and no longer is this able to send a signal to either 2 or 1, because you don't want to have those lights on when both of them are on. Does that make sense? What we're going to spend the last 5 minutes on is just a helpful addition to our redstone modules. I put it up here as well, but we're going to look at the one down here. It's that when we're using T flip-flops, we're going to get outputs that are solid signals, as if we just hit a lever. But oftentimes when we're making maybe music machines or whatever we're using our counters for, we want something that oscillates, because that's a lot more convenient. So for that, we have the the oscillator that we can turn on and off. And this is just a modified version of the oscillator that we have up here. Let's find it. Here's our oscillator. This is a modified version of this oscillator, which has at some point broken for unknown reasons, but fix that one at some point. All right. We'll have to. There we go. Didn't notice the lever. There we go. It's a modified version of this standard oscillator. Only we're going to use a block in order to turn it on and off. So if we go back to our oscillator over here, what we have is we have our lever, or our solid redstone signal that comes from T block counter. And it will go into our starting block. Starting block is going to be flying redstone to the left, and the piston pointing away from you to the right. And this piston is going to have a block connected to it. So what happens when you hit this redstone, hit this lever, we're going to power this block, which means that both the piston here and the redstone torch here are going to be activated. So the redstone torch will turn off because it's now powered, and the piston is going to turn on. When it's in its default state like this, we currently have a signal that's stuck. The signal is going here, goes into this redstone repeater, but it can't go anywhere here because there's no redstone here. Once you hit that block, suddenly the block is here, which means this block gets powered, which means the redstone signal can move to this piece of redstone dust. And now we have a circuit. And we can connect this in order to oscillate something. And this will never jam or anything, because when it's off, this redstone signal is providing the starting point of a redstone. And once we flick it on, the redstone torch is going to deactivate, and the redstone signal is not long enough here for it to catch up to its own tail per se, which is what usually causes a redstone oscillator to break. It's when the tail of the redstone catches up to the head. This is when you lose its snake. If you lose its snake with an oscillator, it's not good, and you have to manually fix it. So this means that this design lets us never lose its snake, which is why we like it. Does anyone have questions about this design? And it's also up here for our redstone modules. Does anyone have questions about this design? Check the Zoom chat. Yeah. I would highly advise you, if you're using creating music or creating alarm, I would highly suggest the use of this redstone module. It's very helpful. All right. Anyone have any last minute questions? John, anything to add?
No, only that I see that you guys are making very creative inventions. I encourage you to practice presenting your inventions. If you make a great invention and you don't present it well, it may not get the attention that it deserves. So building your machines that work is very important, and building creative inventions is important, but at building yourself, equally important is your skill at presenting your ideas. Okay.